He goes, "My legs were broken, but now they're not broken. What happened?"
Welcome, everybody, aboard the hate train of this week's Funhaus. This episode of Funhaus is brought to you by Lisa Mattresses, and I'll tell you a little bit about a special offer they have for you guys later on in the show. But first, I'd like to introduce my fellow travelers on the Sony Shit Express.
No, you make it sound negative, and it's not.
we don't want to come in here completely negative. We want to have some sort of positive outlook on bad movies.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think we can do that. There are some bright sides to Venom, which is a movie we all saw.
You have to introduce us, though.
Yeah, well, you were supposed to introduce yourselves.
Oh,
we are?
You just interrupt.
Okay.
When he starts talking, you just knock him
okay.
over.
That's kind of how it goes.
I'm more of a toxin man. I'm Adam Kovic.
I'm red-haired wig Carnage.
Oh,
Spoilers. Hold off on the spoilers, Bruce.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Spoiler.
And I'm your cousin Betty Brock.
Oh, it's Betty Brock.
James.
Wow, from the Brock Report?
Brock Report.
Should have been called Brock Bottom.
Oh, it should have been. That
Wow,
would have been
you
awesome.
already gave more thought to the movie than anyone who worked on it did.
So yeah, we all saw Venom.
Gonna get
We
that
did.
Venom.
It's been just about 24 hours since I've seen it.
But yeah, you guys went during the workday yesterday.
It's fresh in my brain.
Did.
James and I wasted a Saturday afternoon on
No,
this.
Sunday morning.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I
You
know.
could have been at church learning about the good word.
That would have been way better.
Yeah, seriously. Better stories.
But yeah, I guess so. This isn't an entire hate train. There are some good parts in this film.
Oh, actually, let's start with the good parts.
Well, yeah.
Can I
sure.
just start
We'll get that
by
out of the way.
saying this movie made a butt ton of money.
Oh yeah, so it does not
So it
matter if
doesn't
it was
matter
good or
what
not.
we said.
Not at
No,
all.
not at all.
That's
No.
so that should be clear.
We
No, it
did do
made-
a previous podcast where we said Venom will fail, and boy, were we wrong.
Did
Super
we say
wrong.
that?
Yeah. Well, that was the
Well,
title
that's
of the video.
thumbnail I made. Or
Was it a
whatever.
question mark?
I think
Probably.
that was a question mark.
Fail?
I think it
Because
was.
it doesn't
Maybe
sound
not.
like a definitive
Contractually
statement.
I think we
obligated.
actually took a bet on that one.
It felt like
and-
this is a flip of the coin as to whether or not people would just get confused and think it was a Marvel thing and be fine with it,
Yeah.
or if they would actually judge it by how well it was received.
Whatever. It made $80 million in the U.S. and
Even
a little over
more.
100 overseas. So
Yeah.
budget was 100, so it's made its money
So
back,
it made his money back.
including marketing. I'm guessing in the first.
Wait, was it
couple of
only
days.
$100 million to make?
That's reportly.
That's about right. Yeah, I guess it's about. It wasn't. It didn't look great. So.
I
Yeah.
imagine there's some R&D that went into previous Spider-Mans that they maybe
Sure,
rolled over.
there was.
Well, I mean, the success, I guess before we talk about the movie, potentially does send the message to Sony. They've received your money, and message received, everyone.
Yes.
They will continue making, was it Mobius? Is the next
Mobius.
Yeah, more. So
Absolutely.
That's Jared
Morbius.
Leto, right?
Yeah.
Morbius. Yeah.
That's Morbius. Morbius is Jared
Morbius.
Leto. Yeah.
one? Yeah, and then I don't know. Doc Ock's is going to get a movie.
Craven the Hunter
The Prowler.
is apparently on board after Morbius.
Don't forget about Venom 2.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna get Venom 2 starring
More Tom
Woody
Hardy. I
Harrelson.
hope.
Woody Harrelson as.
As Cletus Cassidy.
Now,
Goddamn spoilers.
Is that a guarantee?
It was announced. Casting was announced.
Yeah,
It was announced, yeah.
It was definitely announced.
Which is also, so I figured that one out. The same director who did Venom is the guy who did Zombieland,
Yeah.
starring one Woody Harrelson.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was probably a, hey, bud, I'm doing this thing. Would you like to have a cameo role? If this movie does well, maybe you can play this character that's unnecessary,
Woody
because we
goes-
just did a movie where
he's
the villain was a symbiote.
Yeah, I think I got a hour free.
He's like, you need me doing makeup? No, wear this clown wig.
Yeah, we know.
Oh
It's
my
okay.
God,
we
that
sent
wig
a PA
was
to
ridiculous.
Party City. He's okay.
Yeah,
He's
I
got
mean,
it.
Woody Harrelson's terrifying looking enough without hair.
Jeez.
No, I mean,
Is
I
he
think
really?
he definitely has an imposing look. I mean, if
Yeah.
you like when he was announced as a casting, we're getting way out of track, but when he was announced as a casting decision, people were showing pictures of Cletus Cassidy or whatever, and then him from Natural Born Killers side by side, and they're like, "Look at this crazy killer."
Yeah.
Like,
Did they show him with the big red wig on?
No one did that because it's dumb.
except for the movie.
Yeah.
He's been bald since season 3 of Cheers, so who knows?
We should be clear. The movie does show Woody Harrelson with a giant red wig.
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
the end of the
the
movie.
fake-
Post
Fakest-
credits. We started at the very end after
Yeah.
the end of the film.
At the end
It's
of the
the
movie.
wiggest
We'll
wig
work
I've
on-
ever
yeah.
seen.
And he looks at the camera and goes, there will be carnage.
He does
I
say
am
the
Carnage.
word carnage.
And then he pauses and he goes, "Another symbiote."
So I could start.
Yeah. What did you like about this movie, Bruce?
What did I like?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm curious because I think James and I probably have the most sort of like pre-existing knowledge of the character Eddie Brock and Venom, and even some other comic book related stuff. Bruce.
Yeah, I read the comics when I was a kid.
Okay, so you know the Venom origin story.
I was excited about Venom, but I always in the context of Spider-Man. So, so Venom, I think, was cool to me when I was a kid, when I was like 11, and it was neat that he was a vigilante that would kill people. I always thought that was kind of cool because it's like, yeah, he's really, he really gives it to the bad guys. But this movie's PG-13, so there really isn't much gore at all. If you are into that at all, you don't get it.
There's a total of what, 3 decapitations, but you don't.
Oh, you never see it.
You never see anything.
You get a sound. You get a head chomping sound.
Okay, I guess clear this question up for me. So, has Venom ever been a hungry character? Does he have to eat? Is that a thing? He has to feed?
Well, okay, so you're
This movie made that clear.
describing a concept in this film that was introduced where Venom has to feed for sustenance
on live things.
He's always hungry
and
for live.
there's a line that seems to imply that it's live things.
There is, yeah.
But
Except-
it's also a thing that's completely disregarded by the end of the movie for the most part.
True.
Well, because he likes the tater tots, that's not alive at all.
Which is okay. So that's the sum total of this movie. It's
no internal logic.
it's whatever's convenient for the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
At no point did any one of the writers, 3 of them, I think, read a scene and go, "Oh, well, writing this is conflicts with what happened prior or what will happen after." And they said, "I don't care. We have a deadline in 3 hours, and we're going to finish this script," which I think is the whole vibe of the whole movie.
Well, we should give an example, too, because I know a lot of people are always like, you guys are hating on everything. One of the first things that happens in this movie is they show Riz Ahmed, who's like the Elon Musk character of this film, and he is standing in front of a group of children and like teaching the children in his lab. And one of the children raises their hand, and another child yells at that child to put their hand down.
All the children.
No, I'm sorry, all the children.
All the children, which is commonplace, obviously, on school field trips for our children to shout at each other.
And they go, put your hand down because you're in the presence of Riz Ahmed. And then Riz Ahmed goes, hold on, children. Let this other girl talk who raised her hand. She has a question. And then we don't ever find out the question because she never asked
again,
it.
back to the writing, they were using that moment to make his point, which is that some people just don't understand.
He monologues.
Some people don't understand that, and you have to break societal norms to show off that, like, you have something to say. Except that a kid asking a question is one horrible example. It doesn't make any sense because she could have gone like, "Where's the bathroom?" Like you don't know what. And then the other thing is,
come from?
He then interrupts her and then storms off before she ever asked for the question.
And he's like, "Keep it up, you little one." And she's like, "I didn't get to."
And he never got to answer.
I think he even puts his hand on her face and pushes her down.
James is right. They set it up, but they never knock it down.
Because they knew what they want. The writers knew every single scene what they wanted to get out of that scene. But they never thought beyond the scene, what preceded it or what will come after or anything like that. And then they also didn't really think about how it made sense logically. My biggest hang up with this whole movie, and I want to preface, you can enjoy anything you like, especially movies. Anything can be an enjoyable experience. So people are saying I enjoyed Venom.
Sure.
You are not wrong to do that. That being said, if you enjoy a woman in high-heeled shoes stomping on your scrotum, that's fine, but it doesn't mean it's good for your scrotum. And that's Venom, okay?
Not good for your scrotum.
It's not a good movie. It's actually a really bad movie.
Not good for your brain.
It's fine.
I don't think it's
fine
good for
if
your brain.
you enjoy it, but it is a pure commercial product. I don't believe that anyone involved, with the exception of maybe Tom Hardy, cared at all about this movie in any sort of like real way. Like I don't think any of them cared about the character. And I even think Tom Hardy's involvement was just that every single time he does any sort of role, he always does that, what can I find that isn't in the script that I can add to this character to make the performance memorable? He does that. Like in Dunkirk. He's got a fucking face mask on the whole time. It's just his eyes. He finds a way to make that character memorable. That's what Tom Hardy's he's magnificent in this, doing that. but no one else cares.
Yeah.
Right.
No one else cares.
He was almost in a different movie.
Yes.
It felt like that.
He was a cartoon character, a living cartoon character,
Everyone
freaking out about the voices in his head.
Everyone else was hitting deadlines and making sure it was coming in under budget, and that was their concern because Sony said we're going to just churn it out, and maybe the audience will get tricked into going and we'll get a ton of money. And it worked.
So the symbiote. I don't say symbiote. They say it wrong. Myself growing up, I'm pretty sure they kept saying the symbiote.
Well, it's a symbiotic relationship. So
Symbiote.
theoretically, if you were going to shorten it, it would be a symbiote.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say it's symbiotic, but
And then
I'm not a
also
scientist.
my understanding too, the symbiote, its name is not Venom. When Eddie Brock and the symbiote become one
You mean from the comics?
from the comics, it's always we are Venom.
yeah.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
The alien doesn't say its name is Venom.
Yeah.
In the movie, though, he introduced himself as Venom.
He goes,
right?
"Hello,
Yeah.
Eddie, I'm Venom."
Yeah.
And so that already that was already sort of not that I'm saying like it has to be exactly like the comic books because I'll already say the movie did not need an origin story. I read a headline where someone said like this movie felt like it fell out of a time warp from 2004 where a bunch of people sat around and said we need to know this character's backstory so we can kill time before we have to do a crazy CGI blowout.
Well, exactly. This movie is a movie from 10, 12 years ago, around the time of Nick Cage Ghost Rider, when people were like, there's money to be made in superheroes, so let's just churn them out. But we don't actually know what makes these things popular. Basically, before Marvel showcased what you can do if you actually care, shockingly, about the heroes involved.
They showcase that they care, but also created a template. Like a lot of the Marvel movies are all the same origin story.
They are.
With different
But they're good.
trappings.
Yeah.
Right. And so why did they pick a different template for this movie?
Well, what's weird is that I didn't see it as a different template. I just thought it was what James said. It's a bunch of people that didn't care. So, I think Marvel does a really good job of hiring people that care and get them to care about their properties and their characters and the writing and everything else that they do with their movies. This seems to me like they're like, we're going to make a Marvel movie, kind of like the way a Marvel origin story plays out, but everybody was like, who gives a fuck?
Well,
it doesn't matter.
Sony was like, just make sure you finish on time.
Yeah.
Make sure it comes out in October.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Under budget. Make sure Tom Hardy's in it.
That's what we want.
It's interesting you
Well,
brought
so
up
enough.
Nick Cage because some of the guys that wrote this movie wrote Gone in 60 Seconds and Con
Which is
Air.
fine. Which are two pretty good movies.
They're not bad
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
From a different time period.
But they're from a different time
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
Yeah. And so when you saw them, you're kind of like, oh, those are fun. And that was my main problem with this is Dan, you and I and Adam, we all saw The Predator. I kind of had fun with The Predator. There were a few moments where I was like, that was neat. I liked what The Predator did here and there.
Sure.
In Venom, I didn't get any of those. I didn't and I loved CGI dumb bullshit. I kind of like that. I can get along for the ride. I couldn't do it with this movie because I thought the CGI was bad.
It was particularly terrible.
And they'd also established, since we've seen so many superhero movies, they established his powers early on. Basically, Venom can do whatever he wants as a reflex in Tom Hardy's body. But then they keep showing you slow motions of him attaching himself to the motorbike or attaching himself to a wall when we've already seen that happen 100 times. So I'm like, why do they keep showing me that if I already know he can do it? Do something cooler and new.
Well, it's weird because, again, scenes no one talking, I'll write this scene and I will not, you stay in a different room and you write this scene. There is a discussion at one point about the limitation of Venom's powers because he compares it to another symbiote.
Well, he says that Riot has a lot of weapons.
He's like, he's got a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
Things you've never seen before.
They don't tell you what that means. There's a point later where then Riot gets spiky and he's like, see, I told you. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. You also can stretch if he was like, I can only stretch, then I guess, but he can also make teeth.
He makes blades too. I've seen it make Venom makes blades.
Did he make blades?
I thought he made a blade.
In the movie he did?
Yeah, I thought he did.
Absolutely.
Well, here's another problem.
The problem is that there's a discrepancy there that isn't resolved. It's the whole movie.
This goes back to Ang Lee's Hulk, where it was the early days of the superhero movies where they're like, you know what? CGI is much easier to hide in the nighttime.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And in smoke.
Yeah. I think there's maybe only one scene with Venom where he's actually lit. And that's in the convenience store, which they have shown in the trailer many times. And okay, and it looks okay. Once again, my only comparison is Spider-Man 3, which was one of the worst villains ever done. But that was, Sam Raimi already said, he didn't care.
Yeah.
He absolutely did
Well,
not
he had
care.
Venom being shoved down his throat.
Yeah,
by
and
somebody.
and rightfully so. They should have never tried to shove that character in that movie, but it was Avi Arad or ever being like, the kids love Venom.
It's just
put Venom in the movie.
if you showed 2002 James that Venom,
Yeah.
I'd be like, holy shit, I can't believe Venom's in a movie.
Yeah.
But we just had Infinity War, which had an entire CG character for the whole movie look fucking amazing the whole time, with so much attention to detail
Yeah.
that this is almost unacceptable.
It really is. And you were talking about the Venom just being in the darkness the whole time because it's probably easier and cheaper to
You
animate
remember when
it
the SWAT
that
team
way.
shows up and they go, throw smoke, cover him up.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense as a SWAT team, by the way.
We can't say anything.
It doesn't make any
We're
sense.
lost.
It doesn't make sense at all.
The whole movie, or especially the end fight scene, I thought was incomprehensible.
It was
Like,
it
I
was
couldn't
terrible.
follow
You
the
mean
action.
the goo fighting goo?
In the dark? You mean the black goo fighting the gray goo in the dark?
Dark gray goo.
There were two pretty cool shots in super slow motion that they actually lit, where when the sonic weapons are going off.
Oh,
and
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of- They showed a little bit of it in the trailer, but they're kind of tearing apart.
Yeah.
And you could actually see what was going on, and that was really neat. But the other 10 or 15 minutes of that fight scene, I seriously didn't know who was fighting who
no,
or
you don't.
why.
They also run like dog. Like there's nothing human. Like it's all just a big pass. And I feel like obviously I feel like the people who worked on the CG for this, they did probably the best they could with the very small budget that they had.
Sure.
But when you create something that can do anything, and it's also the same color as darkness, that's an excuse. That's not a creative decision. It had nothing to do with the tone of the movie. Like, that was a creative decision. And when he runs like a dog and just basically flies and jumps everywhere with no... It's not like Spider-Man. If you watch Spider-Man move in Spider-Man Homecoming, there's a reason he moves that way. He has a purpose, and it's very explicit. There's nothing about the way... He's just a big thing that bounds around, and then when they introduce another one, it moves the exact same absurd, silly way. Like...
He's bigger.
He's bigger and he's a little grayer.
He's a little grayer.
I mean, bit.
The thing is, those are problems. I get those are problems, but the script is bad.
It is.
It's
the
a
script's
bad
terrible.
script.
It's terrible.
Well, and you were talking about the inconsistencies earlier. There's one as to whether or not Venom can read Eddie's mind or not. Because at some point he seems to know about.
That's
was
right.
it Anne? Was that
Anne, yeah.
I'm inside
But
you,
later
Eddie.
he didn't.
Yeah. He's like, I know everything about you. And then he's like, where are we going?
Yeah.
And he's like,
Tell me about your girlfriend.
But there's so many times where Venom is like, I'm taking control now. And then Tom Hardy or Eddie Brock's like, I'm going this way. He's like, no, Eddie, stop. Like,
Well,
it's so
Yeah.
inconsistent in what can be done or what the
it's-
limitations are.
The whole movie is scene to scene because like Eddie will say 1 second, I don't want my ex-fiance to come because it's too dangerous. And then Venom will go, I'm going to eat her. And then in the next scene, he'll go, she should stay here.
I
It's
like
not
her.
safe.
Yeah.
And he goes, we need her. Everything is just bouncing around. Whatever needs to happen in that particular moment happens, and it doesn't work with the rest of the movie.
I'll give you another example. The crux of the movie, the entire crux of the movie is that Venom and Riot, who are symbiotes, both want to get off planet on Elon Musk's rocket ship to go get more symbiotes to bring them back to Earth and take over. And Venom clearly states this. He says, I need to get to the spaceship. Within 24 hours of movie time, he then immediately changes and goes, you know what? Never mind, Eddie. I like you, so I'm staying and I'm going to help save the Earth. And it's literally a one-off line that is just like, you have changed. I like you now, Eddie.
There's also
And I'm
another one-off line that's indirect that he gives a different reason, where he goes, well, I kind of want to stay on Earth because I'm kind of a loser.
Oh.
Where I come from in my planet full of people like me, or my aliens like me or whatever. So if I'm here and I'm the only one, then I'm going to be pretty powerful, right?
Right.
And you're like, so he's now at odds.
Because before he wants to help Eddie, but then he also wants to
Because they forgot what they wrote
dominate Earth
before.
Yeah, no,
So it's like you gave me two different reasons for why he wants to do what he wants to do. That's the whole movie, though.
Well, there's just another inconsistency that I found was they have a problem. The Elon Musk character, Riz Ahmed, where they're kidnapping homeless people or whatever, and they're trying to get the symbiotes on them. Symbiote, I can't fucking decide on which one it's called. But they try to put on them, but everyone keeps dying because like, oh, the alien, the parasite will kill them. But then it attaches itself to Eddie Brock, and they go, he did it, symbiosis. Are you watching this? They are one. But then he goes to the doctor, and they say, the thing's killing you. But then Venom goes, no, I'm not. And then
he does. He literally says, no, I'm not.
And they're like, no,
they're lying.
They're like, he's lying to you. And then he's like, they're lying. And they never clear up if it's actually killing, because by the end of the movie, okay, everything's fine. All fine.
Also, shortly after that scene, they're separated.
Yeah. And Michelle Williams shows up.
And so then Venom is like, well, we should stick together because we work. Haven't found a human yet who merges with me so well. I also go into a dog.
He does right away.
And your ex-girlfriend.
And then right into the girlfriend, yes.
And that's fine.
And everything's okay. Yeah, everything's all right.
We do literally the same thing we did with you.
But and then also it's also completely dismissed when Riot, the other symbiote, is on the other side of the planet, makes its way in a very convoluted way, almost like the film Fallen, where it's just like touching other people. Like go from woman from Malaysia to older woman from Malaysia to little white girl. Little white girl who takes a plane, who then
walks into a laboratory completely unguarded
and just goes, you're the chosen, like you now. Like, what is the criteria for you to be strong enough to be able to handle this alien thing?
Everything about this movie is setting up the rules of a scene, and then those rules get completely broken for whatever the next scene is. The whole reason Eddie gets involved in this situation is because there's a doctor who has some doubts about what they're doing at the laboratory, testing on homeless people. My God. Wow, we're killing them. Except one of the first scenes of the movie is Eddie Brock finding out that they are testing drugs on homeless people and killing them. Which is what causes him to lose his job and investigate in the first place, which they make a point of saying she was involved in. So nothing changed.
No, nothing changed.
Except that the movie realized that she needed at some point to tell Eddie. Like, these are inherently wrong things. These are wrong. And also the biggest thing is, at the very least, you could walk away feeling like if the character's changed in some way. At the beginning of Iron Man, Tony Stark loves selling weapons. At the end, he's going to get those weapons back. Like, that's all you got to do. Eddie Brock starts the movie as a reporter who, in the face of losing his job and losing his fiancée, decides to do the right thing. And then at the end of the movie, what? In the face of
he gets everything back.
In the face of losing his life, and his fiance, he does the right thing. There's no progression. He doesn't change at all.
There's one scene where he apologizes,
but he apologizes for nothing. The movie is just telling you, it's trying to make it seem like he's gone from point A to point B, but everyone else is wrong around him. He was the only one doing the right thing. His girlfriend was working for a guy who was killing hobos, and she's like, I can't believe you made me lose my job. It's like, you're the bad guy? Like,
well, I was thinking about that a little bit, kind of the theme or where they were going for with Eddie Brock. And the only thing that I could really come up with, and this isn't necessarily hammered home in the movie, but is that something like keeping your integrity is only like a personal reward. Like you only feel that inside. Like no one else is going to give you kudos or a new job because you have this strong integrity and do the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a complex theme, and thus you'd have to handle it with complexity.
That's really hard.
But they use a sledgehammer, and it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Well, it's the same.
And another fault of the movie, in my opinion, that I think to try and pretend, like you were saying, that there's been this progression, the first 40 minutes of the movie before he has the symbiote, I feel like they did, they introduced the real world of the hero twice. Like they showed him doing his Vice News, hard-hitting YouTube news.
Brock Report.
Brock Report.
Yeah.
But then he was kind of, they had to end that and then show his real world again where he's a loser again. And it just seemed unnecessary. Like they could have that was the cool shot in the movie.
The whole movie to me, like I'm pretty good at suspending disbelief on these sorts of films typically. And usually I feel like this is going to sound ridiculous. I feel like I'm a pretty good barometer of whether or not I feel like most people can suspend their disbelief. And the more that I watch the movie and the more that I thought about any scene at all, just a little bit, is when I started going, oh, wait a minute, hold on a second, something just changed. Like James said, there was no one scene to the next. There wasn't anything that held them together. So if something changed in the next scene, then you had to immediately forget about it if you were going to enjoy the movie. Because if you remembered anything from the previous 15 minutes, then that was it. You were like, what the fuck is going on?
Why did the drones explode?
Do you
Why was all the fire balloon?
Why didn't they shoot bullets?
Remember when Riz Ahmed lets one of the things out of he's like wants to punish someone, so he lets one of the symbiotes out, right? And then he comes back. The next time you see him, he comes back and the thing is dead on the ground, which they've established that if it's in oxygen for too long, it dies, right? But like
he's upset.
And he's like, who did this? And it's not ironic. Like he's not so crazy that he thinks he's just like, who did this? Because the writer forgot how that happened. Yeah. They just knew they had to get rid of one of those things.
There's a whole other scene too where it's also kind of unclear because we fast forward, what is it, 6 months?
6 months, yeah.
After the Brock Bottom, his hit YouTube show gets canceled. Yeah. Like he is at his worst, at his lowest point. Gets a phone call from one of the scientists who's been working on these alien symbiotes for forever, how long, and she's like, you got to get in here and help. It's like, why him? He doesn't have a news show anymore. He's the only guy who ever has to ask the hard-hitting questions.
You could argue that he, in the face of losing his job, decided to do that. I mean, right?
I know the real answer. It's that the screenwriter said, how do we get Eddie Brock into this
into the lab
so that the homeless person who he befriended earlier can give him the symbiote instead.
The problem is if you're watching something and you're like, this could have been such an easy fix, like on the page, which is, all right, we start Eddie Brock off as a reporter. He does the right thing in the face of it and is punished for it. So it causes him to fall into the deep end. Why did I even bother doing the right thing in the first place? If you want to ham-fist it, he goes to the lab and throws beer bottles because he's so pissed, and he just happens to be there when there's some sort of breakout because they have hobos and one of them kept a shiv and unlocks it and then gets out, and then he just happens to be there like being a whiny little bitch about his life. And then that causes him to get the thing on him, right? Like that still makes more sense.
That's Spider-Man. Spider-Man just gets bit by a spider randomly.
Yes.
You know, like that's really what happens. And everyone sort of accepts it and moves on, right? And it's like, oh, okay, cool.
And then the whole movie can be about him like, oh, I'm going to take it to this company. Like I have this power and I'm going to use it the wrong way. Again, Spider-Man kind of, there's a template there that you can use.
Well, it introduced this strange subplot at that point where the doctor gets Eddie into the facility,
no cameras,
and then there's this whole thing, and they're like,
literally no cameras,
and they go,
security guard.
So
the most high tech lab in the world.
Evil bad guy goes, security, you need to get on this and figure out who did it, and everyone's acting like, yeah, it's cool, yeah, we'll just, who knows, we'll never find out. It's like, there's a login. There's no camera. Like, there's like
there had to have been cameras because I thought for sure they were gonna like. It was weird because I was telegraphing the script in my head. I was like, oh, they're gonna show the footage and they're gonna go, Eddie Brock. We know where Eddie Brock is. But they kept going back to Riz Ahmed being like, you gotta find him. Where is he? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? How do you not know that it was Eddie Brock in the lab?
It was just this very complicated add-on that was unnecessary, which led to a motorcycle chase, which they said, my favorite line in any movie is release the drones. And this company that is supposed to be a SpaceX type philanthropical or like a philanthropic sort of character, has drones that their one job is to run into things and explode.
All labeled, all with his company's label all over.
Serial number. Blue flames.
Everything was blue in that fight.
Also,
every explosion. It was very strange.
Every single time something happened, they would always cut to the control room where Riz Ahmed had his like NASA team. And he would be narrating the events of everything.
There was a lot of explaining in this.
It's like that's if you ever want to know if a movie isn't confident in what is going on, it has a character doing that.
Yep.
There's no one had any confidence, which is why he had to say, we're going to chase him with drones. Look how athletic he is. I'm describing all of the things that are happening in this scene because it may not make any sense and we're not sure how we shot it.
And
Like
There were a lot of those lines that were also ADR'd. Like you can tell when an important line is said and that character is looking away from the camera that they decided to do that later because some studio head or test audience person was like, I don't know what's going on here.
It's definitely a note. Dana's right. That was the thing that
happened 3 or 4 times.
And you
in
can
this
see
movie.
this is all across everything, television, movies, anything. When you are watching a scene and you in your head just keep track of when you're watching and you go, his leg is broken, or his leg was broken and then it got fixed by Venom, no problem. And then they cut to the next scene and Eddie Brock goes, whoa, my leg was broken and now it's fixed.
No.
We already knew that.
No, James has
he says, my legs were broken, and now they're not broken. What happened? Which is the single dumbest thing I've ever heard in a movie.
But the movie gives you a close-up of Venom fixing his broken leg.
Yes. They were unsure if that was going to translate
because they hadn't
in
CG'd
CG
it yet, and they weren't confident in the end result.
even though there's enough lines where he's saying like, "I will heal you, Eddie."
I want to say something. I want to say something positive.
Hang on a second.
the movie.
Before positive.
Save it.
I was just going to say, I want to talk to you guys about Elisa real quick. Yeah. Do you find yourself distracted, forgetting things, making mistakes at work? A high-quality night's sleep makes all the difference. The right mattress is the difference between resting and just laying down. The Lisa mattress is the product of more than 30 years of experience in mattress engineering and hundreds of hours of testing. Comprised of 3 foam layers that provide cooling pressure relief, body contouring, and support, over 300,000 happy Lisa sleepers agree the Lisa mattress gives them the rest they need. Order your Lisa mattress online at lisa.com/filmhouse with promo code FILMHOUSE and try it risk-free for 100 nights. It ships direct to your door in a convenient box with free shipping and free returns. Find the right mattress for you at lisa.com/filmhouse and get the rest you need tonight. Get up to $160 off the Lisa mattress or $235 off the luxury Superior mattress and free shipping on the Lisa mattress at lisa.com/filmhouse and enter the promo code FILMHOUSE at checkout. That's LEESA.com/filmhouse, promo code FILMHOUSE. But yeah, so James,
yes,
please.
Can we move
focus.
to the positives?
We were supposed to start there.
We're not going to have much time. I got something I just want to say.
All right,
so it's not all negative, but I want to say that when a movie is as broken as this is, it makes it really hard to predict. So I did appreciate the aspect of my not being able to sit in the movie and guess what was going to come next. Because I was applying the rules of logic.
I didn't anticipate the bad guy would murder all the scientists he's been working with for 20 years.
No, he's only 25.
And he's like, we're going to space now. And they're like,
he's like
space missions take like months of prep. He goes, 5 minutes.
He's like, I'm gonna do it. And he's like, set the timer for 5 minutes. And all the guys are like,
all the scientists are like, ooh.
It's at least a 20-minute walk to get to the ship.
Well, it's funny when all the scientists did that. That was me in the theater being like, I don't know how they're gonna launch this rocket in 5 minutes.
Seems like
I guess the bad guy's undoing is when the rocket goes, he goes, no!
The best thing about it, that's one of the best things too, is when the hero does a really shitty job of saving the day. And in this movie, the end is he reaches the rock, the bad guy gets to the rocket ship, and it explodes.
Yeah, it explodes.
And fire is the only weakness.
I mean, like, Venom, I think he dings it a little bit.
He shoves
well, no, he cuts it down and releases the jet
I know,
fuel.
but that's what it's like. Instead of going and fighting right, why didn't he just go punch the ship?
That was another logic inconsistency because they make it very clear that fire and sound can hurt Venom.
Correct.
But then at the end, when a spaceship explodes on him, somehow Venom is okay.
Venom sacrifices himself for Tom Hardy.
Because Venom shoots.
And one of my favorite lines in the movie is when Tom Hardy goes, Venom, no! Like that.
He said that?
He said, Venom, no.
And then he goes,
I need to see it again.
Goodbye, Eddie.
I love you.
Well, so that was a fun part too, because in the Venom lore or whatever, we've always known that his weakness is ultrasonic sounds.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That was introduced when Peter Parker gets the suit off him by ringing a bell. Yeah. It's also kind of a shitty weakness, but it's fine. Happens about 18 times in this movie. Whenever they climb a building, and he's like, "The view is nice," and then a plane goes by. Goes, the plane's still about, I don't know, a mile overhead. He's like, "Ah!" I think like a loud boombox would upset him.
Is fire a thing that also hurts Venom in the comics?
New to me.
Oh, in the comics. I don't know what the
I
comics.
don't remember that being a thing in the comics, but I may be completely wrong.
But he offers that information up.
He says it.
Where he goes, he's like, oh yeah, the sounds make him hurt bad. And he goes, and fire bad too.
Fire hurts me. And apples, don't eat any apples if you want to get rid of me, the parasite.
It felt like an add-on because of the explosion at the end. They want you to think that the symbiote
is dead. Yeah.
Symbiote is dead.
It's because they couldn't think of any other way to end the movie.
A false death ending like that in a movie where the titular hero is going to die in the first one, it's so false.
That's another thing too. This movie, it's called Venom, and if you make a movie called Venom, you better give me Venom. He's really not in it that much. True. But it does still do the things that an action movie does, where it says every 5 to 10 minutes, we need an action sequence.
Sure.
Until Venom shows up, they continue that pace, and it's terrible because it involves Tom Hardy climbing into an aquarium and eating lobster.
Those was great.
Those are the action sequences that fill those voids.
Which are not action sequences.
They're not action sequences, but they treat them like, these are these moments of excitement and levity that are supposed to break it up.
I think Tom Hardy going to weird places.
This is the one thing I think we all
was
agree
the
on.
interesting part of the film. Even though the lobster thing's over the top, for sure, those were the only parts of the movie that were intriguing at all.
It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch Tom Hardy, and fun to watch Tom Hardy act. It always is. Pretty much in everything.
When he's on the motorcycle going fast and the wind's in his face and he's doing like whatever goofy lines he had, I thought it was funny. Yeah. That was a more interesting movie.
And again, going back to this movie forgetting like what happened before it, that motorcycle sequence, there's something that happens in movies. If you look for it, you'll see it all the time. There'll be a moment of intensity, right? Eddie being attacked by guards, not sure what was going on, fighting guys off in his apartment, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, it'll break into outright action, right? And that happens when he comes out of his alleyway and his motorcycle's there, and he's like, I'm going to leave on this motorcycle. We saw it, and we introduced it at the beginning. He's a good motorcycle driver.
We saw in that
he
montage.
peels out, and there's like a guitar riff that comes in. It happens in so many movies. If you look for it, you will see it. And it happens in this movie, and I'm like, okay, here we go. 3 or 4 minutes later, the movie forgot that it already had that moment, and there's a point where he kind of slows down and then goes again. He goes, wee! And it's the same guitar riff, and it's because they literally forgot that they had already used that same riff to get the action sequence going.
Man, and that specific action sequence, by the way, if you guys were looking, which I'm sure you were, there was at least 4 shots of a stuntman Tom Hardy, clearly that's one of them. Clearly a stuntman Tom Hardy just riding a motorcycle down the street, and it
doesn't even have the same hair.
And it was one of those things where I was like, come on, they could have gotten so close with this if they just put a little more effort into it. I would have not seen stuntman Tom Hardy.
This is a really good paycheck for everyone involved.
Yeah,
I'm glad everyone got paid. It's weird that Ruben Fleischer, who had made Zombieland, which is a good movie with a sense of style.
Yeah.
It's a little inconsistent, but it's got a sense of style.
Especially to start.
Would make this movie that is just utterly devoid of any sort of style.
There are no stylistic flourishes at all.
There's nothing.
I can see saying, oh yeah, Zombieland was great. Let's give that director a superhero movie. Maybe he'll do something fun.
I'd be very curious to see if he comes back to do a sequel.
I go back to the, I don't know if you guys have read it, the Sony email.
Oh, the hacks?
The one about, it's the one that somebody leaked.
EDM kids.
It's about Spider-Man and about how they kept talking about how Spider-Man should be doing Snapchat and EDM and all that other stuff. I think Sony is constantly giving those notes. I think these are executive notes on these movies. Like, Ruben Fleischer may have had a not bad film on his hands with Tom Hardy and all that other stuff, and I think Sony keeps just piling it on because I always think those ADRs of like, my legs are broken and now they are not broken. I think those are executive notes. I don't think that those are anything else other than old people being like, we don't know what happened because we were playing with our kids or using our phone while watching this screener. That's what it sounds like.
I think even like the opening montage seems like something that the studio is like, hey, we need to make it snappier up at the front of the film.
I'm just saying, we've seen 2 movies in the last, I don't know what, month that opens up with a spacecraft crashing onto Earth.
The Predator, that's right. The Predator.
Yeah, and once again, you don't open your movie like that because, and same exact problem as the Predator, where they go, all right, life mission 345. We're going down. Like, why? Why are you going down?
That is my favorite thing too about. And I don't know. I've never flown a spacecraft back into Earth's atmosphere, but it's like in the movie, it's like, all right, we are on course for landing. Oh my God! he goes, oh my God! And it bursts into flames. And I'm like, even if the thing broke out of containment or whatever, what could it have done? It didn't show it like flip or lose
like a
orbit
meteor
or
hit
anything.
or
Like
something.
The movie didn't even. Did the movie explain that? Did the movie
I mean,
explain why it
no, they
crashed?
just said-
I mean,
I think it was
seems
Riot breaking out.
Was it Riot?
Essentially, yeah.
I mean, it probably was Riot. I
Okay,
assume
all right.
it was Riot breaking
All right.
out because that's where they're like, one of them's empty.
Well, and
But
that's why one of them was in one of the pilots, the Jameson.
Got it,
pilot.
okay. Got it.
Presume that it jumped out and then had to do something to make it crash. I don't know. It's not conveyed visually
Yeah.
that something
Right.
went wrong. It's just a guy ADR going, "Oh my God!" and then it blows up.
So to go back to two things. You were talking about Sony earlier. I don't know what they're doing, man.
They're failing. They're failing miserably.
Really,
Well,
really,
no, they
really
are not
badly.
failing
Well,
because they made a buttload of money. This is a Suicide Squad type scenario.
Yeah.
Most people do not care. They just
true.
want the dumb characters that they like on a moving thing.
And maybe that's what they're doing. They're just making movies that they think will make money instead of making decent movies.
Maybe.
But I feel like if it's good,
There
it
are a
will
lot-
also make money.
Well, recently there was another thing that was leaked out of Sony, and that was that executives were basically panicking because all the movies they were making were poorly reviewed, and also like their reputation was kind of going down the drain.
Absolutely.
So James may be right. They made money on this film, but I don't know that they feel like that this is a huge win for them.
I don't know.
Oh, there goes Eddie Brock.
Is Eddie Brock?
Release the drones.
I think with $200 million in opening weekend, we are going to get Morbius. If that does well, we're just going to get a whole.
right.
I don't
We're going to
know.
get a
People can't
whole
wait for
Spider-Man,
Morbius.
Venom.
I think Venom-
villain universe.
I'm going to throw it out
without
there and
Spider-Man.
say I'm going to say Venom could potentially be a fluke, only because people were, like myself, were hoping it was loosely connected to Spider-Man in some way.
I was.
So that it would just, not that it all has to be part of this MCU, but I don't know. They might be able to do a Joker movie without Batman, but Venom I don't think can stand on his own. He is a villain. At best he's an anti-hero, but you need to bounce him off of someone who's you can't just have his twin.
Yeah.
You can't have the villain be the twin and then tease it in the next movie that it's going to be another one.
Another evil version.
He only fights other aliens.
Well, I think there were probably 40 minutes of awesome in Venom that if they were in a Spider-Man movie would have been a cool fucking Spider-Man movie.
Oh, I would have given it maybe 15, 20
Yeah,
minutes.
no, I didn't. That end, like James knows, my climaxes in films were always like, I can't wait till the hero fights basically the opposite of himself. It's going to be this badass, like the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, the one with Edward Norton. I was like really excited because I was like, all right, maybe this Riot fight's going to be badass.
Finally,
right?
someone who's up to snuff.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Riot can fight Venom. This is gonna be cool, and I couldn't see a thing.
And it was- you
I
couldn't follow
see a
any
thing.
of
And I was
it.
like, what the fuck? This is the one thing I was waiting for.
Also, he basically loses. Like
And he does lose,
He doesn't
yes.
use
He does lose.
creativity or his other
Smarts.
weaker abilities in a smart way. He just gets his ass kicked until they both kind of almost die, and then Riot blows up in a
It's-
spaceship accident.
It's something that Marvel Studios and even like Joss Whedon, I think, is good at. We've talked about this before, where you have someone who is a fan of a property and they go, oh, it'd be fun to show this cool thing that they do. So a good example is the first Avengers. You have Hulk fighting Thor, right?
yeah.
And he throws the hammer and it falls on the ground, and then Hulk tries to pick it up. And you're like, aha, but the rules say he can't do that. Even in Justice League, as weak as that movie was, there was at least one really cool moment where the Flash is running. It's already been established. The Flash is faster than anything in the world. Then Superman looks at him.
Yep.
And you're like, hey,
yeah.
check it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
someone knows, at least they know the world they're working in. Venom never once did anything other than something that, like, Gak would do. He sticks to things and pulls it, and he can climb fast, and he can use a shield, kind of, but he never like did anything super cool that
No.
you use that character to its fullest potential, and that just never happened.
I think Venom has a certain amount of brand power Like, I think this is the quality of the first Ghost Rider, the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, which we watched not too long ago. It's the same. Honestly, if you watch them side by side, I'm sure you'll find the same things where it's like, we can't afford to do Ghost Rider yet. We can only do Ghost Rider from the 45-minute mark on.
You get
right?
3 scenes.
So yeah. So the first scene has to be something wacky. So it's like, whoa, my bike's alive. So there's like always shit like that.
Right.
The only difference is that Ghost Rider, no one gives a shit about. No one cares.
Which
Ghost Rider has no brand power.
as we
Venom at least has brand power.
As we discovered in Vancouver unfairly, Spirit of Vengeance is actually kind of a fun movie. It was directed by the Crank guys.
Yeah.
And the CGI looks infinitely better when there's like that daytime car chase scene. I was like, well, it looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
they didn't have to
bad.
hide it at night. Like, it's a lower budget and at least it knows it's stupid. Venom was... I think only Tom Hardy knew it was stupid.
Yeah.
I also want to that's the turd in the wind scene. I want to say real quick because people will comment. Someone will go, I wish they had gotten someone who loved it in there to talk. We couldn't find any.
I went to watch it because you guys all assumed I would like it.
It was hard enough to get everyone to go see it.
I thought I was going to be like, yeah, you know what? That wasn't so bad. And it was bad. Man, was it bad. I thought for sure I was going to come out of this movie with something redeemable. The only thing I can come up with, really, when I think about it, is I liked Tom Hardy talking to Venom. I liked the Venom voice because it was Tom Hardy's voice. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And so when they're acting opposite each other, it's just Tom Hardy twice. I thought that was neat.
They had good chemistry.
Right, because
the
it's
things
Tom
they were
Hardy.
saying were dumb as fuck.
Right. Yeah.
But like, it had good chemistry. I would have rather watched them just sit in a room and talk.
Yeah.
Than to see
My
them
dinner
trying to
was
sort.
Venom.
Yeah,
Well-
sort out any of their bullshit.
Well, just strange things too, like having a love interest because it's sort of just a checklist.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, she was
And I was
pointless.
like,
Terrible.
she could have just been his sister.
It's true.
She didn't have to be in the movie.
well, and she's a good actress too.
Yeah, she is.
But
It's
that
true.
character had 0 point. Like there was absolutely no purpose other than to shit on Eddie Brock. Even
Well, there was there's the part where she is the one. She needs to get the Venom back to Eddie, and then they go, "Thank you for your time. Go away now." Like they tell her like you're done being in the movie now, and then she goes, "No, I will continue," and then. She helps.
goes and helps. Yeah.
Oh, what does she do? She
she
turns
causes
up
a
the-
loud
she-
noise to happen.
She turns up the thing.
That's right.
It's. I mean, like I said, I think the only redeemable thing is Tom Hardy.
Yes.
That's
Well,
it.
and you said you liked the he and Venom moments. I also liked right before that when he just had the symbiote and was freaking out
was
about
crazy.
it.
Yeah, no,
because
yeah.
he was sweaty and
fun.
gross and doing really weird, wacky stuff.
Something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
It was really fun. I mean, like Tom Hardy's great in everything. And I thought that like when Venom would comment in his head when he was talking to other people, I got a few genuine laughs from me. Like I thought it would be funny when Venom would interject and be like, "No, he's lying," and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." That's kind of funny.
It does seem like a movie that's constantly at odds with itself, and hopefully, when they do the inevitable sequel, they just embrace the silliness.
Yeah, hopefully they get someone on board more with Tom Hardy's vision.
Get the
I
Crank
guess.
guys.
Yeah.
Get the Spirit of Vengeance dudes. They'd probably get it. It
Well,
was at
it's-
its best when it didn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
That's all I can really say. And
Yeah, I'm pretty sick of SWAT guys fighting superheroes.
Me
Just
too.
like guys in black outfits with guns, with no personality and no face and no name, are not interesting.
He also
at all.
broke into a news building, and when he came down, there was like 10 SWAT guys. But then when he killed all the SWAT guys, he just left out the front door. Like,
Like the cop
I mean,
cars
how did
weren't
they
there.
get there?
Yeah.
A van?
It must have worked.
Was it
there.
just this 10 guys go from news building to news building to check to see if people are breaking in? Like,
I don't know.
it didn't care. As soon as it, like, literally the scene ends with him riding with Michelle Williams away on a motorcycle, like nothing ever happened. Right? Or no, driving away in her car.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the back seat and he's like, I'm hungry.
I'm still. Does he need food? Is that a thing? 'Cause
I don't know.
He keeps eating tater tots.
But then he eats people's
then in
heads.
this scene-
It doesn't make sense because at one point they're like, it has to be alive,
Yeah, no, I
and
know.
then later on, tater tots are his favorite.
But then he
It
eats. And
makes
then he
no
also eats a
fucking
bunch of food and then
sense.
throws it up immediately, like he can't handle the food.
Well,
The turd in the wind thing too also bothered me because like he's like we're only gonna eat bad guys, and then this guy comes in and he tries to rob the convenience
Chen.
store.
Mrs. Chen, yeah.
And I think I think there's some tonal shit that gets fucked. This movie is all broken. I think there's some you could make a completely different movie in this edit, but like he lectures the guy about if he ever sees him around here again.
Right.
What he's going to do to you.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, shit. He's, like, really scaring. Also, the guy is, like, scared, too. Like, if you noticed when he was robbing Mrs. Chen, he's, like, shaking.
Yeah.
And they ADR'd his voice to make him sound angry, but every time you saw the actor, he looked like he was on the verge of tears. And you're like, oh, they're going to do a thing about poverty or how it's hard out there or whatever. But then he lectures this guy and he's like, if I ever see you again, then I'll kill you. And remember, we are Venom. And then he goes, never mind, and then he eats him whole.
Yeah, he does.
And then he goes, sorry, Miss Chen, I got a parasite. But then they at least ADR'd and addressed the point where he goes, you can't call me parasite.
Yeah, Venom doesn't like
that name.
being
He's like,
called
no,
Parasite.
it turns him endearment.
But it's just like, I don't know what he is. I don't know what his goals are.
Yeah.
I don't know who he's defending or who he's fighting.
I think a lot of people will say that that's the point of the film is that you don't know
they're
who Venom
wrong.
is, and that Venom. I agree because well, Venom and Eddie are constantly fighting for who has consciousness and who has control, and I'm like, boy, do I not care. There's no rule there, so I have no idea who to follow or who to like.
There's an interesting story about the two of them coming to terms with each other about being losers.
Yeah.
There's an interesting
Little
story there.
buddy film.
But as far as how much they explore it, it's one line and then completely forgotten for the rest
Maybe
of it.
2 lines.
Where's the second
Maybe.
line?
Well, there's the one time where he calls Eddie a loser, and then there's later on in the movie where he admits that he's also a loser.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 2 lines.
But he doesn't really say
go.
why. He just says, I am also a loser.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the implication is that he doesn't have as many weapons,
I don't know
which
what.
are AKA axe arms.
Yeah, I was gonna say axe arms and blades.
I did actually just now think of another good thing about this film.
good.
And
No.
it was like an hour and a half long.
No, it
Hour
was-
47.
Look,
There were 17 minutes of credits.
my movie started at 11:30 and I left at 1:30. I'm just letting you know.
Well, we saw it at an ArcLight, and the woman came out before and said the runtime of this film is an hour and 47 minutes. And
17
then
minutes of trailers.
But it
there's a
will feel
Spider-Verse-
longer.
And there's a Spider-Verse
Credits.
clip after the credits.
Did
is
you
cool.
did you say for that?
No, absolutely not.
it
we
could have
did.
been 2.5 hours long, is what I'm
I
saying.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
going to see Spider-Verse. That movie
Yeah,
looks
this-
really good.
this
The
looks
trailer
good.
has more personality.
Yeah, it does.
Which ran before this movie. Bad marketing move, by the way. It had more personality about, like, he goes through more of a character progression. Miles Morales goes more through more of a character progression in the trailer for this movie than Venom does in the whole
movie.
thing.
Yeah.
It's really great.
This might be hard to watch, is my only thought.
Really? I
There's
think-
just so much going on.
It takes me a moment, but my eyes sort of adjust to what's going on. But yeah, and that blows my mind too. That this is, I know it's Sony Animation versus Sony Pictures, but from what I've heard, people who've seen like the first 35 minutes of this movie stuff at Comic-Con, like everyone's like, it's going to be
It looks
really
amazing.
good.
Cool.
Yeah. So at the very least, we only have to wait till December to get a good Spider-Man movie,
Yeah.
even if it's not. I don't know. I'm okay with this sort of. It doesn't all have to be the same Peter Parker.
No,
you
no,
know,
no.
cinematic universe. I've been waiting
We've done
for
it
a good.
enough.
Listen, you know I love my Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
She looks cool as shit. in
I was
this.
saying like a Pixar level
Pixar
superhero movie
Spider-Man.
that's not Big
Yeah.
Hero 6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like why not? Like yeah, just the perfect like melding of comic book and animation. It looks so good.
I mean, ever since Disney bought Marvel, I thought a Pixar Spider-Man would be a
Oh
perfect
wow,
film.
that'd be amazing. Well, this already looks great. It's not Pixar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
so I guess that's the most positive thing I have to say about Venom is when I stayed through the credits and saw all the hardworking people
Yeah.
who were mostly from India, I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Like Deepak's working on this film. Good for them. I got to see this really great trailer at the end of the movie, and it looks fantastic.
So what do we think of an entire universe of Spider-Man characters without Spider-Man?
Please keep scraping the barnacles.
$200 million in 1 weekend.
Venom is the only thing that they have going. I love Spider-Man, but his villains stand out alongside him.
No Rhino movie?
No. We had
What
one.
about
Paul
Electro?
Giamatti.
Oh, there's one other thing I forgot to tell you guys. I found out one of the screenplay writers also wrote Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Which is also trash.
Just so
Which
you
is
know.
also trash with a really excellent actor who's the one person who figured out an interesting twist with that movie and then is basically pushed under. Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie
Oh,
Foxx's Electro is the only remotely interesting thing about that
I liked
movie.
Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy.
I mean, like, yeah,
Sure.
the performances aren't that
fine.
bad in that film.
Emma Stone
but
is
the-
Emma Stone.
But the movie is
Yeah.
bad. The movie is
the
bad.
best thing about Spider-Man 2 is you could tell the two leads were fucking each other. You're like, wow, they're not even acting.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts on Venom
You
before
can
we go
enjoy
home?
anything you like.
But don't see it. It's, I
Yeah,
promise
it
it's a
really
waste
is.
of your time.
It is a waste.
I don't know. If you have any interest in superhero movies, like, go see Ghost Rider if you want to. It's cool that we have Hollywood has caught up to the point where you can make a movie about a thing that you enjoyed as a kid.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
There is a
and-
nostalgia factor.
Yeah, I guess see this so that if the sequel is better, you can compare the two.
I
That's
say
gonna
rent
be
it.
better.
Rent it maybe.
Rent it, yeah.
It's an airplane movie.
But,
Don't
yeah.
don't pay the extra $5
Nope.
like Bruce did for the D-box seats.
You guys did D-Box?
Bet we
yeah,
did.
first time I ever did it.
Oh,
And,
man.
I did.
Was it throwing you around?
I was trying to eat French fries while on the spot.
Well, it's got two like guards on the side, like two poles that you hold on to. They're also some of the most uncomfortable seats in the world.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a shame.
yeah, I don't really recommend.
It
doing
really takes you out of the movie.
odd, right?
Remember when he tells that guy about Jesus? So the homeless guy is like, I trust you.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does.
He just said, you want to get paid or what? And the guy's like, all right, fine.
I thought Riz Ahmed was fine. He didn't have much to work with.
He was trying. Some people try.
He's
Yeah,
also
tried,
our
but
age.
He has nothing.
Playing a 25-year-old. That was a weird throwaway line that I thought was pointless. Also.
Wow.
He's super young and he's a bad guy, and Eddie's a good guy. It's as black and white as you can get.
Yeah.
It's a movie made by Sony, so
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, hopefully they try harder next time.
Make Venom great again.
They won't. They've been all you've done is encourage them
Yeah.
to try less hard.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yep.
Yep. Venom 2 is gonna be worse.
Half,
way.
Yeah,
half the budget.
I'm genuinely curious if Ruben Fleischer comes back for the sequel. I feel like he will not. I feel like he will leverage the success of this to go do something he actually wants to do.
Hopefully.
Hey, we got James Gunn working on Suicide Squad 2 or whatever the new
Man.
its own thing. But
What a twist.
really, a ragtag
dark
group
universe.
of people of heroes or villains that we've never heard
No, I'm
of.
just saying for Suicide Squad. What
Yeah.
could
No.
you imagine the difference in
Yeah.
movies that it would be?
Well, we'll also see if James Gunn is if maybe hopefully he's better than just the Guardians. You know.
I read that story and I was like, all right, James Gunn, you finally offended me. It's the worst thing I've read about you on the internet.
He can make it good.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Maybe with some more Halloween spookies. Right?
Halloween's coming out soon.
Yeah. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dun dun.
This woman shows up and she's like, "You ain't so bad." He's
Yeah.
like, "I'm not so bad." And then the town goes, "Kill her!"
And he's like, but I am a friendly vampire.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Wait, you killed her? Fuck you!"
Yeah, fuck
and he's
you
like,
all.
and he's like, "A curse on your land for 1,000." You're like, "Do your best, Dracula." Oh crap, he's doing it. He's terrible. He's got powers.
I'll say this, though.